right on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. This piece is entitled Meet the Right-Wing Couple Banned from the UK. Think about those words for a moment. Hours after landing in Vienna, Austria, following their release from the UK Immigration Detention Centre, that's Detention Centre, I sat down with Martin Sellner and Brittany Pettibone. That's a quote from Tommy Robinson, and he's done a video and there will be links on my site. Now, I want to get a couple of points clear here first. One of those people, the lady mentioned there, is an American journalist. The other comes from Austria. The UK government claim this woman is a danger to the UK. Also, the man poses a possible threat for causing hate crimes in the UK. They were both detained under Section 7 of some criminal act. Translation: they don't want to upset ethnic groups in the UK. They were put in detention centres. Let me say that again in case you missed it. They were put in detention centres. An American citizen was put in a detention centre. I think Donald Trump might have something to say about that. An American journalist branded as a threat to UK security? Think about that for a minute, and think about all those other people who are not being branded as a threat. 30,000 of them. Now the UK, in my opinion, is being exposed. That is, the UK government is being exposed for what it really is, a pro-Muslim, anti-Christian regime. How sad. Now, if you can remember back a while, it was in fact 2014, they even arrested a man in public for reading a speech they claimed some people would find offensive. His name is Paul Weston. Here's that clip.
Where exactly were you speaking, please?
Winchester, which is in the county of Hampshire, and Hampshire is part of the South East constituency for the European Union elections, which I'm standing in. So I thought, as it's part of my constituency, I will go down and try and explain to these people who do not live nearby to a Muslim community something about Islam to them.
You were actually speaking to a crowd about standing as a candidate in an election in a riding in which you were one of the candidates. How many people would you say were listening to you?
Well, in the beginning, let's face it, none of this lasted for very long, I'm afraid. We had. I started off by saying to them that people of Winchester, I want to talk to you specifically about Islam, and I want to read something to you. And then I started reading it. We were immediately interrupted by this woman, who then immediately got on her phone, and we rightly assumed that she had phoned the police, and within about 3 minutes the police had arrived and taken my megaphone away from me and taken my transcript of Churchill's words, and said that I could no longer do that because my words were causing offence and distress to people who were listening.
Did your audience or the police know at the time that you were quoting Churchill? Or did they know after? At what point did they know it was Churchill you were quoting? Did you start out by saying that this is Winston Churchill, or were you saving that for the end of the quote?
Well, no, I was never actually going to mention it at all. If I hadn't been arrested, I would have mentioned it was Winston Churchill. Having been arrested, I thought there's absolutely no point informing the police about this, because they will then perhaps be slightly less forward in taking action. And I thought that if it really has come to the point that you can be arrested for saying these words, then don't tell them who originally said it, and let them arrest you, prosecute you, and just to show the rest of the world how utterly sunk this poor old country of Britain is today.
Now, the only problem with the claim that they made was that speech was actually written by Sir Winston Churchill. What a joke. What an embarrassment for Britain. That they, the British, are controlled now so totally by thought police, who even prosecute a 70-year-old hairdresser for using the wrong words on Facebook. Here's just part of the clip from the Tommy Robinson video. The link will be on my site.
Intention for coming to the UK?
Yeah.
Originally?
My crime.
What is the crime?
Britney's crime was that she wanted to talk with you, and my crime is that I wanted to speak at Speaker's Corner, and even there's a backstory to it, because I was invited the second time by Young Independents, the youth movement of UKIP, to give a speech about freedom of speech at one of their events. And both times they lost the venue because of pressure of Antifa and
threats against the venue.
Threats against them, threats of violence. And then I remember, because my mother, when I was young, told me about this place in London, Speaker's Corner, where everybody can just take a crate, put it on the chair, and then start speaking. And I thought, okay, no, I will not cancel my flying tickets. We'll go there and I'll speak at Speaker's Corner and give my speech there.
And that's your crime?
That was my crime.
Mm-hmm. So that's your crime. And your crime is separate, because obviously that's your intention, and they separated you both and asked you your intentions for coming to the UK.
Yes. So I have the official statement here. I'll just read the sentence, which it involves you. Yep. So they say, you have asked for leave to enter the United Kingdom as a visitor for 5 days, but as you stated in your interview, I have reasons to believe that you are seeking admission to the United Kingdom to interview Tommy Robinson, a far-right leader whose materials and speeches incite racial hatred. So that said, I just want to add really quick, Martin said, okay, you can detain me, I won't give my speech, the event won't happen, so let Brittany go through and she can go and conduct her interviews because she has other work there, she was just going to film my speech. They said, no, actually your case is worse because you want to interview Tommy Robinson. So they were completely just up in arms about you.
I've never been done for any of those crimes. I've never committed any of those crimes, but what message does that send, that a journalist can't come into our country to interview someone?
The first thing that crossed my mind is, wow, this reads a lot like political discrimination. Like, on what ground? I was like thinking, okay, he's not a criminal. You're a free man walking around the UK. Anyone should be able to talk to you. Why can't I go in? Like, it's not like I want to go to a prison or something to interview someone. It was just really bizarre. It felt like they were saying, you're right wing, that's not allowed. You're conservative, it's not allowed, so you're not welcome here.
I think also the decision was already made before.
Yeah,
they were searching for reasons.
The decision was made. Yeah. You was on a list before you come into the country.
Our passports, right when it.
So when you put it flagged up.
Yeah.
I think it's very telling that the UK is opening its borders for all kinds of people, letting radical Islam grow within its borders, but is shutting its borders down for dissenting opinions. That's very telling, very revealing, and I think it's actually very embarrassing for a modern Western democracy.
But Tommy Robinson is no threat, and the fact that Tommy Robinson has to take this interview to a foreign country is an absolute disgrace and embarrassment to the UK, and the British people must be ashamed. Britain was the cradle of democracy. Britain was the cradle of freedom. What has happened to Britain? What has happened to the UK? What has happened to Great Britain? Your thoughts? You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab, and email. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio, that's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.